see if this works. Okay, I'm Ty Cameron, based out of Salt Lake City. Give you a little bit of background on myself, give you maybe a reason to follow me on some things, Twitter and then the Pandemonium Slack channel. Growing up, I was kind of really into, well, tell you what I do at Christopherson first. I am over the IT teams, IT and UI UX, and you're probably thinking like, what in the hell? Like, doing two separate things, right? That's just bizarre. If I tell you my story, you'll understand why a little bit. Very young age, I was way into Legos. Loved building stuff, kind of introvert, just stayed in my room a lot of time. And so I just like building things, and built my first website when I was 12 years old. I think I built my first corporate website for a company at 16. It's pretty funny if you go in that Wayback Time Machine and look up what it was. Is hilarious. All these Giphy images and Netscape and all that stuff. And you know, I just kind of progressed. Was into nerdy stuff. There's this classic picture. I wish I found it because I was going to share it. Classic picture of me and my cousin, 12, 13 years old, sitting on the beach in Hawaii with our TI-89 calculators. With a cable linked up between them. I don't know what we're doing. Our younger siblings were out there surfing. So I've always kind of just been into that stuff. Kind of progressed into building more advanced websites, graphic design, logos, whatnot. Landed at Christopherson, but during that time, because I built things, I kind of started building computers, servers, got into Linux, got on the command line, got into the code. So I really did both things. I liked doing the design from the front end, but I also liked building stuff. So, and that's kind of how I, do these two things now at Christopherson. There was no one to do IT. I kind of took it over. So what is this session about? Airportal Adoption Currency. Airportal is Christopherson's proprietary technology, and we're trying to do better. I mean, a lot of you guys are a lot more advanced than we are in terms of product, and so we're just trying to become product people like the rest of you. Pendo has, maybe I'll tell you a little bit story about how this session actually came to be a session. Pendo has quite a following over in Utah. How many Utah people I got out here? Front row. Thank you, my people. So they had a meetup. Brian was there. Mike was there over here. And I'd been talking to Pendo a while about we were working on this already, how to build this currency. And I've been talking to Pendo and just talking about I was probably driving them nuts with all the questions I was asking for the API and how we feed that in to what we need to do to build this thing. And so we kind of had this conversation going already. They knew what I was doing, but I wasn't trying to publicize anything like that. I was just doing my thing, They had a meetup, and my team that's here, they wanted to go to the meetup, talk to Pendo people. I said, hey, I'll tag along, see what other people are doing. People are going up there and sharing what they're doing with Pendo, really cool product stuff. And I just kind of sat there listening. And then Blake from Instructure, who was hosting the meetup at their office, who spoke last year here at the conference, and I met him here, out of nowhere in the back, he's like, well, I want to hear what Ty's doing. Totally puts me on the spot. Brian brings me up there, and we had this impromptu session talking about this, and this is kind of how this started. So I'm going to walk through a couple things. I'm going to tell you the story of Christopherson, just so you kind of understand. This is really a case study of what we did, and I hope you guys can relate it to some of the things you're doing. It's going to be a bit different based on your product. So I'll tell you a little bit about Christopherson, about our product, Airportal, why we wanted to create this adoption currency, some of the mechanics behind actually forming that adoption currency, and then how we visualize and use that data. Christopherson's an old company, and so someone was talking the other day about old dogs and new tricks. we're trying to learn some new tricks. Old dog, we've been in business since 1953. I was going to go through all these slides about our history, and it was super boring. So I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to skip through these slides really quick. And what I really want to do is tell you the story about how Christopherson Business Travel became the accidental software company. Christopherson has always kind of been a slow growth, but over time we've grown really 20% almost year over year for nearly 30 years, which is incredible. Slow, steady growth. In the process, we kind of had some tech people come on. They were our IT team. They just built little utilities for travel agents to help them do their jobs and things like that. And it really became, then we started building stuff for our travel managers, who are really the people in our industry that we want to market to. Things that, they're the decision makers that decide, like, we're going to use Christopherson for our travel. And it really started to become part of our value proposition to build the technology suite. And so, we have three legs of the stool in our value proposition. Technology, which is the main thing now. It wasn't always that way. Our approach to account management, and people. We hire the best people, and that's a cliche. But so what really stuck us out from the crowd is our technology suite. So the product, AirPortal. AirPortal is really a product where all your travel data, or to run your travel program in your own organization, lives. And so if you want to go do it, it's really become more of a data and reporting tool in terms of how people are using it. And we'll get to a little bit later. We wouldn't have really found that out without Pendo. But it's kind of evolved, but now it's gone responsive. I'll show you a little screenshot. These are some of the screenshots of our dashboards. We've gone through a new process where, like many of you roll out version 2 and version 3, and it's an iterative process. It's got better and better. Still has a lot of flaws. We didn't know who was using it, what it was being used for, kind of thing. We thought we were solving real problems, but we weren't really sure until Pendo came around. So AirPortal does three main things, I would say. It helps with risk management, knowing where your people are, helping get them out of problem areas quickly. That's why we have the map here. Actionable intelligence, things you need to do. We have a list up here of things you should do, like, hey, your credit card's expiring, you have a trip coming up, you better update that or you might have a problem. Or someone checked in and said they need some help, and so you need to get them out of there. Maybe there's a hurricane or a weather alert or something like that. And then cost savings. I mean, we are in the travel industry. There's pressures all around us to really get our service fees lower and lower and lower. It's a race to the bottom with all these online providers, and so we really have to have a niche that sticks us out from the crowd. If I could summarize our goal as a company, at least for the AirPortal team, it'd be build products that are useful, elegant, intuitive, with the goal of becoming indispensable. I think that constitutes product love. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think just the term product love is incredibly concise, and I love that. How do you do this stuff? I mean, each product is unique. How do you build something that's useful, elegant, intuitive, and then become sticky to someone where they don't want to give it up? How do you do that? You've got to measure adoption, and I think many of you know, like, Pendo's the way, right? So why create a product adoption currency? We don't charge for our software. Some of you, if you were to embark on this journey as we have to create a product adoption currency, you have more metrics because you're selling your products. We don't. We give it away for free. We have a whole team. We're spending over $1 million a year in investing in that tool. And just by being our client, you get it. It's kind of our value add and how we get business. And so we needed a way to kind of not only measure the usage, but measure the adoption of that product, and then somehow incentivize that adoption or incentivize the evangelism of the product to internal people. Give you a little bit of idea of where we're at today. I pulled these last night for our air portal usage. The top one, this is straight out Pendo. You guys have seen this. Number of visitors this last 30 days. We don't have a long time to keep people on the site. They're on there for a pretty short period of time. In most cases, it's a monthly session. And the target audience down here is our travel managers, the people that we really want to target, those decision makers I mentioned. A lot smaller percentage. In it a little bit more daily, but we're only getting about a minute more, right? So it's still kind of a monthly usage. What we found actually going through the data now is that people are actually using it more to reconcile their credit cards, and because of that we were able to make some UX tweaks to it, because we didn't design it for that. We designed it as, hey, look up your itineraries and see where people are going, things like that. We didn't think that they're only using it to see how much they spent on travel. So we've been making some tweaks along that since we found this out. I'm gonna give you a tweet. So now that you're connected to me via Twitter, because I gave you my handle, I'll give something you can tweet. Adoption currency helps us realize the potential of our product. That's the simplest way I could put it. Until we got thinking about this, we didn't know what to do. And so we were just kind of fumbling around, like what metrics do we track, what KPIs do we track, things like that. And so when we really started thinking about currency and figuring out how to formulate that currency, is when we realized how much our product could do for our target audience. So let's talk about the mechanics of it. If you guys have questions about this, feel free to ask, because I think it's going to be different for all of you if you, again, embark on this journey. In fact, I've talked to a few people who are doing something very similar as us, and they're creating their own currency, in fact, using some of the same tools we are. So we're not alone. This is not like groundbreaking or revolutionary. This is just something we're doing to try to help us. Pendo and Domo. These are the two tools that we're using to do this. Raise hands, who's heard of Domo? Okay, it's quite a few. Are you guys customers? Yeah. Some are. Rapid7, yes, we know those guys. Let me tell you a little story. How we got connected with Pendo. We were customers of Domo. Domo, for those of you who don't know, is a business intelligence tool. It's designed to really aggregate large amounts of data from any data source and to be able to visualize that data and report on it and run your business in the palm of your hand from your smartphone and give C-suite really key metrics they need to make business decisions. So we're starting to use this tool just to run Christopherson as a business. I'm on the product side. I have a little niche, We're trying to figure out how to be better product people. We're working on some guides. We were using Joyride at the time, kind of a built-in thing to the foundation framework that we use for our responsiveness. And I was just looking at examples, like who's doing what. Like, let me find every onboarding thing I can possibly find and what I like and whatever. Domo's awesome, so I want to be like Domo, just like we all want to be like Apple. I want to be like Domo. So I was seeing what they were using. And so I'm in their tool, plugging away, pops up. I said, what are they using? I inspect the code. I get into the code. I see this little snippet thing, pendo.io. What is that? I went to the website, checked it out, signed up. I swear to you guys, like within an hour, Pendo contacted me and said, "Hey, you want to learn more?" Like, yeah, I do. Like, let's go. I was super amazed with Pendo and what it could do. We had, I don't know if any of you have the same problem, but when we got Pendo, and I went back and looked at my emails to see when this actually happened. We signed up with Pendo in August of 2015. So a company that's only been around 5 years, that's a pretty long time as a customer. We kind of got a false start. Like, it was so cool. There's so many things we could do in our product and start to track it, because up until that point, I had to talk to development, and you guys know how engineers are sometimes, and they're not thinking about what they want to track. They're thinking about what they need to build, and features need to work and function. And so I was just super amazed. Oh, this is so cool. I can do it on my team now. I don't need to go to engineering. And then Raul contacted us, and he it was probably a month in only. He'd noticed he was using Pendo to Pendo us. You're not using our tool. What the heck? Like, let's get you going on this more. And so we had a lot more discussions. He helped onboard us a little bit better. And then eventually came with a use case that was even more useful than we initially thought Pendo was going to be. And so Pendo, you all know it tracks your usage. So that's the mechanism we're using to track all the clicks and features and whatnot in our app. Domo is a tool that we are using to visualize that data and take action on it in the form of a currency. The way we're doing that is through the Pendo to Domo connector. Now, when we first started, and this is where all my questions came with the API, that connector was not available. In fact, Rapid7, about the same time, they started using the aggregation API too. We spoke to Travis last year about it. He was telling us all about it. And we were having some similar struggles, and one of them was, above all things, epic date. Domo didn't recognize the epic date that was getting passed in from the aggregation API, and it was just causing all sorts of problems. I couldn't trend over time. And so we kind of got stagnant with it for a while. I kept pestering Pendo about, yeah, give me this connector. And then in the meantime, we had hired a guy. I was kind of the Domo major, like the guy in charge of Domo. We hired someone to actually just take that and run with it, and that's when we really started to scale up, is when I was able to step out of that, because I would do other things, right? And then we were able to set him loose. He comes to me, he's like, hey, have you seen the Pendo connector in Domo? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Fire up an email over to Pendo, guys, and like, where's this connector? Like, how do I get it? We don't know anything about it. And they had no clue they had this connector for their own thing. And it turns out Domo, because they were a customer of Pendo, they built a connector for themselves since they use Pendo. And they didn't really publish it or whatever. It just kind of showed up in their app store. And so once we were able to implement that, the data started flowing. And it was so much easier. It didn't require, I should have brought a screenshot of it, of this big, long JSON request that I was having to do through the API, and it was just a mess to understand. It was, it took me sitting there for hours, like, and screw up the syntax, and you're screwed. So the connector made it really, really nice to get that data out of Pendo into Domo. So let me talk about how we, well, first of all, define personas. In your own applications, you're product people. You know that you define personas. You want to understand your user base. These are our users. Travel managers, those are the most important people to us. Those are people that we really expect and want high adoption from. Travelers, that's obvious. We don't have a huge use case for travelers right now. It's never been our focus. There's so many things online. There's tools and stuff that we don't want to compete in that market. We're trying to find that niche. And then employees. Employees use the tool a ton just to configure and set up sites and do what they do. So we want to track their usage too and things. So when we went through this process of creating this currency, we said, okay, let's first write down on paper and figure out who are these people that we're trying to target. Then we had to go through all the features of our product. Let me make a few more definitions though. Travel managers, we define as client executives, procurement, finance, senior managers, leadership teams who travel, people like that. So it's kind of like senior people. Then we get to features. So Pendo, obviously you can tag everything that your application will allow you to, right? And some of you run into situations where you can't tag everything, and there's some workarounds like we heard earlier. You can get pretty nasty with those tags. But functions we want to do, we're obviously tagging as much stuff we possibly could, but we want functions that end in a result. So not just page clicks, not just refreshes, not just moving things around. We wanted, if you did a step-by-step process and then you hit submit or something, that was what we wanted to track. That was our adoption currency. That's an actual action. And then we want to know the difference between proactive features and reactive features. Am I users proactively going into the application, or did we push something to them, or are they reacting to some other thing that drew them in there? We want to be more on the proactive side because we want a tool to be something people adopt. They can't live without. We want it to be indispensable, like I showed before. So with these two things, functions that end result and proactive versus reactive, we are able to formulate this currency. We're a travel agency. We're boring. So we couldn't think of anything, and we don't have dollar amount to how much people spent on our product or anything like that since we give it away. So we just went with Delta Airlines methodology. Everyone's maybe familiar with that, the medallion status. So those are our currencies: silver, gold, platinum, diamond. So once we had kind of a framework of how we want to fit different functions in, we defined each of these currencies into buckets. Creating your own, you could get a lot more creative. Someone I was talking to the other day about this, where they were doing something similar. They had dollar values, so they were able to just do it based on percentage of dollar spend on their product versus usage, and that might be actually easier to calculate because it would kind of be a mathematical equation. Ours wasn't quite that simple, but we were able to break it in. And how we define these things is diamond. Diamond's really what we want to target. It's obviously the highest currency, right? Get more diamond, you're going to exponentially scale that currency. That's proactive use of travel managers. Platinum is reactive use by those same travel managers. Gold is proactive use by travelers. And silver is proactive use by employees, internal employees. So we still want to give employees credit for using the product, but it's obviously not as valuable, so we only want to track their reactive, or their proactive work in the tool. So you guys are probably asking, like, okay, that's great. Like, how do you visualize this data? Now you kind of broke into currency. So that's where Domo comes in. We had to do a few extra things inside Domo. So Pendo is passing in the usage. We pass in like feature name and whatnot like that. We also putting it into a group. We have two groups that we use, which is proactive or reactive. So that passes in as a group. And then Domo is making that calculation and saying if it was proactive and it was this page name, or this feature name, and it was a travel manager role that we passed in from Pendo, then it's this currency or not. Does that make sense? Does resonate maybe with some of you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
So, a quick question, because I'm guessing with different companies, different people are the travel managers. Sometimes it may be someone in finance, sometimes maybe an office manager, et cetera. How are you guys, with that, how are you determining who's the travel manager in an organization? That's something.
Yeah, that's pretty easy for us because it's really the person that calls us and interacts with us. I mean, they're the ones that are responsible. You're right. A lot of times it's finance. A lot of times sometimes it's HR or executive assistant. So it's usually just the main person who maybe they were the champion for going with Christopherson to begin with. But that one's usually pretty easy to determine. Sometimes we also have another role, which is travel planners. Sometimes it's people that plan trips for other people, but they don't necessarily manage the whole program. We put them into the same bucket in terms of currency.
Gotcha. And then I guess you're talking about how you only want to deal with features and pages that result in an action. So I'm guessing you have things that are proactive actions and things that are reactive.
Exactly. And we're breaking those up by groups, like groups inside of Pendo, and that's how we're tagging them. So when we tag a feature, we'll put it in a proactive or reactive group. That group name gets passed to Domo, and also the user session, we pass in the role of that user. So how we visualize and use the data. Domo's kind of known for visualizations, so I'll show you some of their dashboards that we've created. We have a lot more than I'll actually show you, mostly because I want to focus on the adoption currencies and not necessarily the stuff you guys already know using Pendo. We do roll all our Pendo data into Domo and show all the usage and who's using the tool, things like that. And we're even passing in phone number too, so that we can call them right from inside when we're inside the Pendo interface. But I won't show you that. I'll just show you mainly what we've done with the dashboards for currency. We use it to identify our top users, kind of thing. We have several. Domo calls them cards or visualizations. So we use those to identify those people, and then we can reach out and contact them. And our project manager is here today, and that's kind of her job. She goes through that list, and she finds those people that we want to reach out to. We've been having what we're calling adoption meetings. So we meet every week, once a week, and just go over the numbers. Another side note, another person on my team here, Jasmine, so I initially used to be kind of the Pendo guy, right? I championed it, whatever. We brought it in. I was tagging everything. We realized we weren't able to really scale that, and I needed to do design and lead my designers. So we actually hired Jasmine to be our Pendo expert, and she kind of took the reins. And it was really fortunate that the company allowed us to do that and have that cost associated with hiring someone else just for one purpose. But that's what gave us the ability to really ramp up and make this real. Before that, we were just kind of fumbling around and trying out ideas. And we were starting to tag stuff. We were starting to look at what we didn't know, and we didn't have the time to spend in it day to day. So once Jasmine came on board, we were really able to do that. And her kind of job was to be the analyst of looking at all this data and giving us actionable intelligence, those insights that they're all talking about, telling us what we should be doing as product people and designers and developers. And so we started having these adoption meetings where we just kind of went over the numbers. We showed who's using it and things like that. We had our engineers in there for a while. They ended up getting kicked out of the meeting. They weren't adding so much value to it. Mostly because they were concerned about other things, right? No fault of their own. They worry about other things. And so we said, okay, well, let's try to change this meeting to better serve the people that we're trying to build products for. And so with the help of Jen, we started these weekly meetings where she will invite one of our top users and do a one-on-one session. We'll usually do two customers a week. And so what are they, half-hour sessions? So we'll just meet with a half hour, and it's been really valuable because now we know what they're using. We know they're doing diamond level features, they're doing platinum level features, stuff we really want them to use. We see what they're using, and now we can really say, let's build a product that solves a real problem for you instead of throwing stuff out there and hoping it sticks. So it's been really insightful. We've even used them as kind of this is product people stuff, right? Meeting with your people, but and trying to understand and get in the weeds of what their problem is to solve. And so we've actually been able to use it as a training mechanism as well. We had one instance where we rolled out a feature that gave you the ability to look up itineraries, which is our itinerary, just with a fancy name. So your travel document, and it had all these filters that you could use, and you could search by first name, last name, maybe my division, maybe the record locator you got from the airline, last four of your credit card, whatever. And we had all these filters and all this cool stuff you could do to get down to it really quickly, what you're looking for. And we found one of our top users. We're like, oh, they're using the crap out of this thing, and let's meet with them. So we set up the meeting, and they walked through their workflow and use case, and it was totally different from what we expected. They had high usage. They were like the highest usage of that feature, but they turned off all the filters. They had two filters they used, first name and last name, and that is like the slowest way to possibly search in our system is first name, last name. And they had this super manual process of going through 30 people every day, first name, last name, to build up just a list of who was traveling that month so that they could go check some rates and at hotels and make sure they got their per diem because they did conferences. So she was trying to calculate how much money to let them have while they're traveling on company dollars. And we're like, you could just turn on a filter and search by this month and find that whole list, and now you can export it into Excel and run. And so it turned into a big training opportunity for us. And I'm sure you guys do a lot of that stuff with just being in product. So that was really cool. And so I'm gonna show you some visualizations now. What time do we have till, Brian? Okay, cool. So we'll have some time for questions then. Here's our Domo dashboard. Again, we have a lot more stuff above and below this, and redacted names because you don't want to see our clients. But I'll walk you through a couple of these widgets that are showing this. The different colors are all coordinated to be those currencies. So the orange one's obviously gold. Platinum, silver, and diamond are kind of hard to distinguish in a color range. So we did our best with it. But these are some pretty cool cards. So feature usage. This is showing feature usage just like you would see in Domo, with the exception of now it's broken up by currency. So you can see our currencies here and how they relate on the graph. I think we're doing okay, being that diamond is our highest usage because that was our target. So I think we're hitting our goal there. Domo's also pretty. You see the dotted line here? Domo has algorithms to do predictions, and so that's based off. And there's different methods of predictions, and I'm sure Jasmine could school all of us in how those work, being an econ major. But it really is. If you're on the same trend, it will show you kind of where you're going, which is cool. So kind of what to expect, and you could set your goals from there. Here's one that shows kind of our breakdown of currency usage by feature. Mine Taylor to fix the spelling of usage. I just noticed that. We're doing pretty good. I think diamond usage is 38% of our target. And remember, platinum and diamond combined were our travel managers. So that's our target audience. So that is good. We still have a ton of silver usage. That's our internal employee usage. So we know they're using the tool. It's valuable, obviously. Obviously, if we can automate more things, we can potentially get the employees out of it less and get customers into it more. So I'd like to see that graph kind of shift over time. Here's one that's showing our distinct diamond users. So that number is right in line with the metrics I saw. There's a few days apart when I took these screenshots. So that 1,277 is right in line with what Pendo was showing. So it's that same data that's flowing through from that segment of diamond users. We also have segments in Pendo for this too. So Jasmine's created some where you could actually select diamond users inside a Pendo interface and see them there too. And I think Pendo is still going to be the go-to tool for doing product exploration, seeing what you want to do better. This is really more high level, and C-suite's looking at this all the time now, and we're really using it to help us just narrow in on where our focus should be. And then when we get in the weeds, we're obviously going to use Pendo and starting to use paths and guides and all that kind of stuff. So that one's pretty cool. Top 25 accounts. This is my go-to one. You can see our top couple accounts use it way more than the others. So there's some reason behind that. Maybe some emotion, maybe some workflow that really requires them to do that. It's not always a good sign. If people are using my product a lot, maybe they're doing a lot of manual process like we found from that example I shared. And so if we can automate more and reduce the time, I think that's okay. But as long as, and that's the difference, because sometimes you measure products on time in app. And ours was only 5-6 minutes that we really get on average for our users. So sometimes less is more. And so I don't want people spending their days, and I'm okay. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. Does each one of the currencies map one-to-one to one user, or can a user be in multiple currencies?
They can be in multiple currencies. The currencies are defined by the action or the feature that they take. Yeah, so, and I'm okay with people doing less and spending less time on my application. I want to understand what they're doing so I know their workflow. But if they're doing it less and they're still, because they're using it for reconciliation or whatever, and they're only going in there once a month, that's okay as long as it's valuable. And I guess if I can create some of those peak moments we learned about, that would be awesome. I think we're just trying to fill in the speed bumps, to be honest. So what's cool about Domo is the ability to drill into any card. And so what I'll show you next is if I clicked on that top bar that has the highest usage, so that's representing one of our accounts. I could click on the name on the left there. That's going to drill in to all the features that client is using, not just an individual user, but the client as a whole, because some of our clients have larger user bases than others, right? It may be a bigger organization, have a team of travel managers, maybe a small organization. It may be someone that we don't even manage the travel for. It's an unmanaged account, very small revenue. And so this breaks it down, and what was really obvious to us once we started looking at it this way is that the majority of our usage is book online trips. We use a third party for our online booking tool called Concur. Probably some of you use that with your businesses. Concur is thank you. We struggle with it too. Concur actually is an agency. Some people get that confused, and sometimes they think we're Concur, and we're not. And I'm glad we're not. How it really works is that a travel agency services Concur on the backside, so we fulfill that travel. So when you're booking, you may not even know who your agency is. You're using Concur, you're booking your thing, and then we service it. And if you need to call because something changed, you call them for agent assist, then you could get us or something like that. So we had SSO set up between the platforms so you can log into Airportal, hit a button, book a trip online, and it actually took you to Concur. That's what our application is mostly used for. It's just a pass-through. People are passing by. And so that's not really currency that we wanted to measure. So, we kind of just, okay, we'll ignore that. It's good usage. We're getting them to log into our product but they're just kind of bypassing us. So, but then if you look down the next couple lines, view itinerary, download itinerary as PDF, itinerary lookups, search. That was the one I was talking about, the filters. Email itinerary a little further down. Email view itinerary again. Most of these have to do with itineraries and interacting with them. And so that became really obvious to us that that's what we need to focus on. That's actually somewhere in our product where we had some neglect. But it's really the only thing that people are using in Air Portal. So this really helped us do that. And you could drill down even further, and you could go into the, I'll go back, I didn't do a second drill, but you could drill back even further and get down to that data table level of who that user was and what they actually did. That's more of a Pendo use case. I think I'd feel more comfortable doing that in Pendo, just from the granularity you get with the timelines and things like that to understand your user. But from a high level, this is really cool. Who's your top clients? What are they using from you? And each client's a little bit different, but we did see some trends across clients. This one was kind of interesting. We're looking at 7-day usage here, and it shows the percentage change of the different products. This one's weird because it varies so much by day. Travel is really interesting because if you look over at transactions year over year and compare periods, it is in lockstep with each other when you look at a graph of our transactions. I mean, people are creatures of habit. They travel the same time all the time. It's just crazy how it's linked together like that. And so this is kind of volatile because it will always change based off what people are doing that within that 7 days. But if you match it up to transactions, it's pretty consistent, which is interesting. We did one, we talked about, and I think this is my last one, talked about if you sell your product and you have dollar behind it, it's easier to map it on. This is our first stab at doing that in Domo, which is we're actually taking our air transactions from our back office product, we're putting on here, and we're overlaying the usage. In this case, it's a number of events. And so that's not necessarily a currency that we're overlaying, but it is just the events that are happening inside of, that are being tracked by Pendo. So that's pretty cool. I mean, you can see that for almost one-to-one transaction, we're getting some kind of event happening in our product, which is a good sign. That's really all I have, guys. Any questions about how we did it? How you guys could implement it? Go ahead.
So as far as the actual tagging of the features, is it something where did you group the features in Pendo and then you're sending the groups to Domo, or did you just do all the features in Domo where you
No, so
separate out what's not and what's platinum, et cetera?
Yeah, so we did the grouping happens in Pendo. So we're using Pendo groups, the colors. Thank you for naming them for us. That was a huge help. When they were colors, a lot more difficult. Yeah, so we're grouping those, and again, it's just the proactive or reactive groups. And then we're matching that up with the user role inside of Domo. Anyone else? Questions? Brian?
About the communication of this to your executive team, is this something they instigated or you brought to them and now they find it valuable? Like, how do they see that?
Yeah, this definitely came from C-suite and probably really directly from our CEO. He was frustrated, really. He was frustrated with the fact that we weren't building what he wanted us to build. We were kind of this homegrown, like I said, accidental software company. We're kind of this homegrown development shop, and we were just building stuff. We didn't have any design, just built it. I mean, I was on that team for quite a while. We just throw it out there, whatever. Our CEO decided, look, we need some design. Ty, I like your designs, so you're in charge of that, good luck kind of thing. And so started doing those designs and trying to be a real software company and have workflows. But after we kind of got there, now he wanted to know, okay, it looks better now, it works better now, who's using it? Like, how do we measure this? And so he was really instrumental and kind of the visionary behind creating the currency. And then, me and him and several of the team members really got together and fleshed out like how to do this. And our first step was just go through every single feature of our application, which was quite a few pages, and figure out what those functions were that had ended in a result.
Yeah, were you surprised by any features that maybe you didn't think to include immediately, and then they came back on as showing valuable or anything like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had, if I go, this green one, you guys didn't see that because it's not a currency. That green one's other. It's stuff we still want to track, but we weren't assigning a currency to it because we didn't think that, that was diamond usage and was really going to get you to stay with us and use our product, but we still want to track it because it's important to understand the behaviors of users. So there were some that were in that other category that end up getting moved into one of the other buckets of currencies, for sure.
Have you found any limitations on just being able to use one group for a feature or page?
One group.
Does it restrict you from reporting other things in Pendo that you might want to?
Not too much, only because, we can use some groups for other things in Pendo, I'm sure, and I hear there's a rumor that they're going to give us a lot more features on groups and allow us to organize those things. Could be really useful. But yeah, because we just had them name-based, proactive or reactive, we could still have other ones we use, and we're just using that as a filter inside of Domo. So yeah, it hasn't interfered at all. Anyone else?
For your specific product, can you just give me just like a quick example of something that's proactive and something that's reactive? I think I understand what it is.
Sure. Yeah, so a proactive feature would be, in fact, maybe I can go back to a screenshot of the product. A proactive feature would be going into this map and exploring it and saying, oh, here's my traveler, and I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to click down this action button, and I'm going to send them that itinerary. I'm going to send them a copy of that so they have it. Or I found this alert right here. There's some warning alert or weather alert. I want to say who of my travelers are affected by that. And now I want to send them out a notification to in case they need to get out of there, whatever, hurricane's coming or something like that. So that would be proactively going the tool. Reactive is maybe you get an email, or you see kind of a list of actions and you're like reacting to it. So more of like a push. Like we push your credit card's expiring. Go sign up and okay, I will, and I'll do that. So it's kind of more of a push or pull. Anyone else? I think we're about at time. Thank you, guys.